The the concept today, I think we are all going through this pandemic, and the role an event is, I would all, it's a question where I think it's a time for us. I should not use the word best, but it's the time where you surely will be able to be seeing the most of the challenges for your enterprises. You will not repent it. What in 2040, if I meet you, you would basically say that how 2020 and 2021 helped you reshape your organization in one of the worst conditions that it actually prevailed. So this is the time for you, and many of the youngsters don't spend a lot of time on tweets and Facebooks and publicizing what you do, but understand the foremost thing that an enterprise needs to understand is you're able to understand your problem in and out, not the solution, the problem. Unfortunately, what happens in many a times, we come up with a solution and we try to fit a problem to it. What we need to do is how do you understand a problem? And when you're building an enterprise, just like any other printer, right? Start telco or Tisco or any other organization, you have to be known for every position in the organization, right from being the office assistant to a CEO. Agar battery uthana hai, battery uthao. If somebody asked me what is the weight of a battery, or how does it take 2 hours to install a system in a cave or a muddy house, you should be able to know what those are, right? You should be knowing in and out what those problem statements are in many ways, right? And social enterprise is not about romanticism. Frankly speaking, it's about passion. Romanticism, as you say, romance dies very soon, passion always remains. And are you passionate and are you frustrated? Because if you're not frustrated, this is not the business that you should be in. Because you should be frustrated enough to make sure that you're able to solve the problem. And where you wake up at 3 o'clock because a certain problem has not been solved. And the beauty of a country like India, and I was speaking to Gaurav and yesterday to Srinath also, was that how do we make the concept of social enterprise is also to create a platform that equalizes society in a way where that any kid in this country, irrespective where he is born and brought up in, whether the slums of Dharwad, Kolkata, Guwahati, should have equal opportunity to all of us who are in the present panel, right? Today, unfortunately, we have created another caste system. Unlike two things. One is what you call it, the caste system of Angrezi English, and because who gets the money? PowerPoint, Excel, and Word, right? Whoever does PowerPoint, Excel, and Word, they get the money. But non-English speakers like the Bengali, the traditional Oriya speakers, or the Kannada speakers have no chance, absolutely no chance in a country like ours. Secondly, is the whole romanticizing of degrees, right? In a sense that I went to IIT Kharagpur because 300 million Indians did not write the exam. Had they written that exam, I would not have gone into IIT, plain and simple. If all of us in this panel actually did a PhD on sugarcane, we'll all be called experts of sugarcane. But a farmer who has done 40 years of sugarcane will never be called an expert because he or she does not have a PhD. I think this level of hypocrisy, what we call of knowledge, learning, has to be reversed. And that is one of the most critical impacts that an enterprise that has social mission does, is to level playing field. As we said, I mean, people say talent is universal, but opportunities are not. I think the goal of social enterprises is to make talent as well as opportunities universal in many ways. And for that, while you keep you hearing the jargon bottom to top approach, and we need to look at bottom to top approach, effect of the bottom to top approach only happens if your thinking is that way, where the farmer who's traveling on a bus and you're sitting next to him in a red bus going from, say, Siliguri to Calcutta. The farmer should think that you are another farmer. Moment he thinks that you are somebody else who is educated and he calls you sir, there is a division in the country. You will never be able to understand his or her problem. Same thing, one of the challenges that we give in the organization is the day the auto rickshaw driver stops calling you sir, you will be able to understand what the issues are. Because a typical survey and data वो सब तो चलते रहेगा, that will never help you create a proper solution to where when you're creating an enterprise, it's not about the product. If selling a product to the poor was a social enterprise scenario, then Philips should have been a social enterprise when it sold torchlights and radios to the poor in 1960s. The concept of a social enterprise means that are you able to equate and create a value from right from the shareholders to the end user at the same level, and the maximum value is going to to the end users, and then moment is the salary levels where an office assistant who enters your office does have a pathway to become the CEO of the organization. Have you created that pathway to create that even if somebody who enters the organization as a driver is able to have the aspiration that one day he or she will become the CEO of the organization? That's what you need to actually, it's not about people leaving the organization for a better job, but are you creating appropriate channels inside the organization for youngsters to have a path to create a platform? You have created a platform for everybody to flourish. It's not yourself. And I'm telling you, Gauravji, from our own experience of the social entrepreneur sector of our generation, I would say, and that I want the youngsters not to report, because in our generation too much of hero worshipping has happened, and too much of hero worshipping has happened, that any enterprise one person is celebrated without understanding that so many other people have been around to do that. And it's something that I would and say that be brutal and have meetings where 9 out of 10 times you are criticized in a meeting, because the only way to actually get good results, because somebody who's actually authentically telling you that these are the issues in the organization and where you're able to solve. So I would say again, we make sure that you're inclusive in your thinking. Make sure that your teams are inclusive, and make sure that whatever solutions that you do is actually inclusive from an end user's perspective and not for your revenue point, in fact. So I'm sorry, got cut off in the flow, Gauravji, but anytime any of these the youngsters would like to reach out, and why to not to repeat the 20 years of mistakes that we have done. We have done enormous number of mistakes. I don't want any of you to go through the mistakes that we have gone through, and the pitfalls, shareholding patterns, taking money from the wrong people, um, in wrong type of geographies to be selected by, wrong type of mentors. So we are a organization which is kind of the should get the first prize in failures. And so I think please, it's an open this one to for anybody of you. I'm sorry, I'm in a bad network area, but Gauravji, again, thank you for inviting me. And I'm wishing all the social entrepreneurs that today is the key for you to, when you use the word local, because India will showcase the world how decentralized approach to entrepreneurship is only way to make the GDP inclusive, so that the 200 to 300 million people who earn less than 30-40 rupees a day can actually be the future innovators, the future Ramanujans, the future SE bosses, the doctors and the entrepreneurs for our country. How do we make those 400 million people in a manner, create a platform that they can innovate themselves?